So now we've got Connor on the line. How you doing there, Connor?
Hello? Hello? Am I on here?
Hello? Y-
Am I on here?
yeah,
Hello?
yeah,
Yeah, we hear
we
you.
got you, Connor.
All right, cool. I was getting myself echoed back to me. I was hearing my own voice. It was kind of crazy, man.
Okay. Are you good now?
Yeah, I'm good.
What you got for us,
So what's
Connor?
going on? Well, I mean, this kind of referred to the title of the stream. I feel it's a little misleading to say that the Bible is made of a myth. 'Cause there's actually quite a bit of prophecies that have been fulfilled that I can prove to you.
Okay, so right from the get go, though, I just want to lay this out, and I'll let Jason if Jason has any problems with this, I'll let him talk. But so like prophecies are going to be the least likely thing to actually be like true. Yeah, I mean, if you look in the past, any prophecy that has come true has either just been reading the room of the situation, like the political and socio economic situation, or it's been just so generalized, like, Nostradamus stuff, that you can literally make it fit anything. So, I mean, prophecies, as far as the Bible goes, is not going to be the best route to go, especially when you consider the fact that later writers, like the New Testament or even in the Old Testament, they had access to the previous writings. So, I mean, they could have just fabricated stuff to make it fit. Even if the stories seem to indicate, oh, yes, this fulfilled this prophecy, that seems like a more likely path to go down as far as all this goes. So I don't know, Jason, what do you think about prophecies proving the Bible?
One thing that we need to remember when we're talking about prophecy, especially within the biblical context, is that the majority of the prophetic works, especially like in your Old Testament, the majority of those things they're written and it's transpired. They're talking about these things as if it's a future event, but they have like anachronisms and things like that in them, or they're really good at getting the details right as long as it's, within a generation or two of the time that it was written. If they try to talk about something that happened further back in the past, they get it wrong. And when they try to talk about something that was written, that's going to occur in the author's actual future, not the, pretended author's future, then they get that incredibly wrong. I mean, there's prophecies in there about how, like, I think like the city of Tyre is going to be completely demolished and everything by the Babylonians. And then they have to come back and update it when it doesn't happen. And the Babylonians fail to take the city. And they're like, okay, well, I guess like after the prophecy, Yahweh kind of changed his mind and they're not going to take it. Um, so they get things like that wrong. And then you have even more fun ones like the book of Ezekiel. The whole thing is this prophecy, written by Ezekiel right before the the Babylonian conquest in which Jerusalem gets destroyed. Only repeatedly throughout the book, it talks about how the author is in Babylon after the exile has already begun and Jerusalem has already fallen. Like he's writing about the past, and like they're not even good at hiding it. They don't even really try in Ezekiel, but in others they do try, and they occasionally slip up, and they have times where they accidentally mention a present day event to clue you in that this is something that is being written decades or even centuries after the events they portray, and even more centuries after it's supposedly written. um, so yeah, the prophecy's not really going to convince me because I read these things and they're not assembled very well. They keep accidentally tipping their hand and showing you that these are things that were being written long after the fact, not far before the fact. And then when it comes to the New Testament, they keep taking things that weren't prophecy and then turning them into like twisting them around and making new little stories out of them, and then being like, as fulfillment of the prophecy. And it's like, well, first, it had nothing to do with this event. Second, it's about someone else entirely. Third, you're taking it completely out of context. And fourth, using an old book as inspiration doesn't mean that old book was prophetic. It means you're reworking an old story. It's it'd be like saying that
Okay,
John Wick is fulfillment of the prophecy of the
hold on.
Count of Monte
Wait,
Cristo.
hold on.
Oh,
Hold on.
well, first of all, Connor, you don't tell us to stop. No, Connor, I'm gonna mute you. No, Connor, you're muted. Okay. First of all, don't. This is our call-in show. You don't start and tell us to stop and interrupt us. Okay. This is a conversation. Wait for us to stop talking, and then you can start. Okay. So, I mean, that was very rude of you right there at the end of what Jason was saying there. So, I'm going to unmute you now, and you can talk, but just keep that in mind in the future. Okay. All right. You're unmuted.
Okay, how much did you hear what I said?
I didn't hear a
don't know where I
fucking
got
thing
cut
that you
off.
said. Well, I didn't
Okay,
hear a
all right,
fucking thing that you
Well,
said because I was trying to get you to stop talking.
Bible.
Okay.
Okay, now I can continue talking. We are going up to the Jerusalem, and the Son of Man will be betrayed to the chief priests and the teachers of the law. They will condemn him to death and will turn him over to the Gentiles to be mocked and flogged and crucified. Is that not Jesus predicting his own death?
I mean, it's really funny. In Harry Potter, I do believe Harry Potter was maybe not Harry Potter predicted his own death, but it was definitely foreshadowed in the movie. So, I mean, that you understand that this is all happening within the same story. And just because Jesus is like, oh, I'm, going to be killed, that's called foreshadowing.
Yeah. And we're talking about things that are written, at the end of the first century. We're talking about people. I mean, let's just take the Gospel of Mark, for instance, because that's sort of ground zero. Matthew's based on Mark, Luke is based on Mark and Matthew, and John is the Michael Bay version. But we're talking about a gospel that's written after the fall of Jerusalem. So this is post 70 CE. So we're talking about a person who wouldn't have even been alive during the time of Jesus. And he gets the geography all wrong. He's, leaning heavily on the Iliad and the Odyssey for material. He's never been, this anonymous author, we don't know who wrote this, had never been to Palestine. If he had, he couldn't have made the mistakes that he made. He invents an entire inland sea just so he can have these sprawling sea adventures, so they can have a 10-hour crossing on this tiny little lake that you can paddle your little boat across in 90 minutes. And it's storm ravaged and there's shipwrecks everywhere and stuff. And then a century later, people had to try to attach this fictional body of water to a real place. So they said, oh, let's take Lake Kinneret and rename it Sea of Galilee so that Mark doesn't look like a complete idiot. So when this person, or any of these authors, because they're making up a lot of stuff, and we know that they're making up stuff. When they're putting stuff like that in there, these are Greek adventure novels. They were originally written in Greek, most of them written by people who weren't familiar with the geography. They completely make up laws and customs and all sorts of other things. And they're fashioning a story. That's why it's all written in a third person omniscient, writing. They literally know what people who are over there are thinking, these are novels. And so if something appears in a novel and then later the thing happens, that doesn't mean that this real person really existed and they really predicted this thing. It means that the author was foreshadowing it to build dramatic tension. I mean, we don't, look at stuff in The Lord of the Rings and be like, man, you know what? Tolkien was a prophet. I know he was just a good writer. And the biblical authors, most of them were really good writers, especially in the Gospels. It was fantastic literature, but it wasn't prophecy, you know?
Also,
Well,
if I can
kind of
ask
just
you,
want to smash
Connor.
religion. I mean, you guys just want to smash religion. You want to destroy religion. You don't.
No, stop. I'm gonna stop you right there because that is nobody's thing
I
here.
actually
So just
muted him.
stop. Okay.
I muted him because if chats to be, and usually when this many people say the same thing, it's usually correct. The guy is apparently just winding up to start using the N word.
Oh.
This is it. There's a guy who
Is-
calls in to yell slurs at the end, and literally, you guys just explained to him why it's not impressive that a story that was written after has a person predicting his own death. And he goes, "You guys just want to bash religion." So the conversation itself has no value, but apparently this guy comes to call in shows just to get all worked up and then start screaming slurs. So you can unmute him if you like, but I'm muting you to let you know that that's enough people have said it that in the past that usually means it's that person. Well, that's fine.
The joy of religion.
You called him with his real phone number.
Remember, reading the Bible makes you more moral.
Obviously.
apologists
have said that, and Connor has proven it.
I'm gonna call his mom.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call his mom and send him the notes. Send her the call. You called him with his real phone number. I'm calling his mom.
Well, I'm so sorry about that, everybody. I should not have unmuted him. I did not expect him to start coming in with that. But
You gave him too
anyways,
much credit, man. Like, you've got far too much faith in humanity. You got to come over here where I am. And I'm just like, oh, it's going to be horrible. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah. But anyways, so Connor's a shithead, and we ban shitheads here. But anyways.
Hello, I'm Jimmy Snow, executive producer of The Line, and I only became a woodworker for the puns. That's not important. If you would like to support this channel, you can do so on our Patreon or as a channel member, and you can actually support specific shows and specific hosts in special tiers on those. Check those options out. Also, you can leave a super thanks and get a little highlighted deal. But if all else fails, you can always you can subscribe and leave a comment. Now, here are some suggestions because I don't care about the algorithm. I am the algorithm. Bye.